This is the place to find yourself.
Istanbul offers great universities and the lifestyle is really amazing here.
So I live at the dorms at Maltepe University and I'm really happy with it. There's a cleaning service every few days and then there's the library nearby which is open 24/7.
My first impression when I came was like, it's huge. You have everything in one place.
When you first come to Maltepe University, you don't know where what is and you're like, oh my God, I need help. Guess what? You're not alone. There is the international office people over there. They're like family. They're very helpful and they're always there for you.
Istanbul is the perfect mixture between ancient and modern. Coming into this city helps me discover myself, learn about so many different cultures, learning about the world, which will help me in writing future books.
At Maltepe University, we have a lot of research centers. Because of that, we have the ability to participate in a lot of international projects.
Here at Maltepe University, the education consists of both practical and theoretical. We get the opportunity to practice everything we learn in class in real life. So after we graduate, we have a degree and we can work all over the world.
People come to Istanbul all the time, but what they really miss when they visit are the antique shops, which contain thousands of years of memories and also a thread of the modern future.
I like to use every minute and just get out and hop on the ferry and just go from the Asian side to the European side and just enjoy the wonderful weather with the wonderful Bosphorus behind me and just enjoying the moment of Istanbul.
Istanbul is very beautiful with great culture.
This city is the symbol of diversity. Come and study at Maltepe University.
Come here and feel like you're home.
Hello everyone, welcome to our Congress last session of the last day. I am Miray and I am the moderator of this session. So first of all, we are starting with the Ms. Şilan Yeşilbingöl from Maltepe University in Turkey. Her presentation's topic is Internet Addiction and Self-Directedness. So the stage is yours.
Hello everyone. I will share my presentation. I hope you can see now my presentation. Can you see my presentation, my voice well?
Yes, we can see it, Şilan. It's okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, thank you everyone, dear professor and participants. My name is Şilan Yeşilbingöl. Today, I would like to present you a relationship between social media and personality. As you know, social media has huge impact on us. While we're using internet, our personality affected from social media and our acting is changing depend on our characteristic and according to different social media platform. Because of that, I want to talk some important points about personality and social media. These are my today's contents. First, personality and excessive internet usage, and self-esteem and internet usage, and the self-directedness and internet usage, and lastly, representation of social media. Personality and excessive internet usage. Internet addiction is a growing problem worldwide. A thorough literature review suggests that internet addicts represent between 0.3% and 10.6% of the general population, depending on culture and country. Of course, these variables changing depend on different economical status and the different cultural values. Currently, it is unclear whether excessive internet use qualifies as an addiction or whether it should be better regarded as an impulsive control disorder, although recent development in DSM-5 suggests a behavioral addiction. And the self-esteem and internet usage. Stirgen and Berger were the first examined the relationship between implicit and explicit self-esteem and different combination of internet addiction. Explicit self-esteem is defined as a conscious evolution of the self, while implicit self-esteem is defined as an automatic self-evaluation that usually occurs outside of one's awareness. Research shows that a person can have different levels of both implicit and explicit self-esteem at the same time, like low implicit self-esteem and the high explicit self-esteem. The result of Stiger and Berger's study showed that participants with impaired self-esteem scored higher on the internet addiction. Test compared with any other combination of the explicit and implicit self-esteem. The image self-esteem is characterized by a combination of low explicit and high implicit self-esteem. It could not support the hypothesis of an association between internet addiction and a different combination of the explicit implicit self-esteem. However, in 3 of the 4 samples examined, there was a negative correlation between the participants' internet addiction scores and their explicit self-esteem measure scores. Self-esteem has been associated not only with internet addiction, but also with personality disorder, anxiety disorder, eating disorder, and etc. Thus, it becomes clear that the link between low self-esteem and the internet addiction underlines the psychopathological character of this emerging disorder. And other subject is self-directedness and internet usage. Self-directedness means the ability to regulate and adapt the behavior or the demands of a situation to achieve personality chosen goals and values. Self-directedness is a higher order character dimension. It describes persons who have high self-esteem, who follow their personal goals. In 2010, Montague and his friends investigated the relationship between various personality traits, such as internet addiction and extroversion, neuroticism, novelty seeking, harm avoidance, and etc. The authors found that the personality dimension, self-directedness, also defined as a determination or self-regulation, and time spent on the internet for private purpose were predictors of internet addiction. Researchers propose that self-directedness is a key personality dimension for the prediction of the personality disorders. Internet addiction had also been linked to personality disorders such as borderline and avoidant personality disorder. Moreover, high self-directedness is associated with the high self-esteem, willpower, and carrying responsibility for one's own actions. High self-directed persons have the ability to regulate and control their behavior, as internet addiction is thought to share some characteristics with impulse control disorders, such as failed attempts to control behavior. It seems plausible that a link between the low self-directedness and the vulnerability towards. Now you can see there are lots of countries such as Bulgaria, Germany, Spain, Colombia, China, and Taiwan. They have self-directedness and the internet addiction correlation. And between these two variables, there is a negative correlation. And there's self-presentation on social media. The popularity of social media platforms today makes them an important venue for self-presentation. Social media provides multiple platforms in which the self can be presented. It broadens the audience and the role one can play in self-presentation, while at the same time providing less information about who the audience is. Unlike traditional self-presentation tactics such as appearance, demeanor, and behavior, social media platforms provide a new set of tools and features that people can use to present themselves to others. These include individual profiles, new contents, reuse of the existing contents, and one-on-one or one-to-one messaging. The persistence of the individual identities differs between the platforms, ranging from the permanent real-world identity on Facebook to temporary identities on different platforms. And there is also individual difference. In addition, the challenges social media poses to traditional self-presentation, there is evidence that individual differences in personality traits, skills, and experience can further influence understanding and perception of the possibilities social media provides for presentation. Thank you for everyone and Maltepe University to give us this opportunity.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions? I guess no questions. Thank you again. Next presentation belongs to Ms. İnci Dilara Gazdaoğlu from Koç University in Turkey. Her presentation titled Past, Present and Future of Emojis, an overview of the interpretation of emojis and its relationship with digital communication. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen real quick. I think 1 second. And all right, so as it has been stated, I'm going to be talking about emojis, how they relate to our communication and how we interpret them and such. So first, let's begin with the history of emojis. Emojis can originate from emoticons, and emoticons, the first traces of emoticons we can see are from 1881, an American magazine called Puck, and they realized that we can do these like typographical arts using the dots and the parentheses, and they share this, they published this, and this is the first trace of emoticons. When we come to the digital world, we see Scott Fahlman, a computer engineer, come into first place. He was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and here is the first digital message that has been sent that involves digital emoticons. Emoticons, by definition, by the way, are things we use, faces and gestures we make using the characters inside of our keyboards. So this is the first message. It was sent in 1982. And the reason this was made is because Scott Fahlman noticed that a lot of people could not understand the difference between, for example, someone makes a sarcastic joke, but a lot of people did not get them. So they decided that we need certain markers to compensate for the non-existence of body gestures and such. So they decide to make emoticons. And when we come to the emojis itself, there are a lot of sources on like whether it started in 1997 by SoftBank or 1999 by Docomo. There are sources stating both, so I included both of them. SoftBank 1997 was made in Japan, so was Docomo. And additionally, Docomo, the emoji creator for Docomo, Shigetaka Kurita, has his designs are sent into the Museum of Modern Art, so they are displayed there. And as emojis became more popular, it started in Japan, and as emojis became more popular, it spread to all around the world. And currently, there are several different platforms emojis are used in. When we come to the literature on the interpretation of emojis, as it is the scope of this paper, we see a lot of names coming ahead. I've selected a few that were that I found especially important, which focused on the semantics of emojis, how emojis are connected with miscommunication and communication, how do we mentally process emojis, which Kaya et al. Did, and which had quite interesting findings. They found that we understand facial emojis as we understand a face. And here are a few Turkish sources. However, I noticed while doing my research that the research in Turkey is limited, and there aren't a lot of research on the interpretation and understanding of emojis, even though Turkish people use emojis a lot. Here we have the functions of emojis. They basically mean, what do emojis do? How do we use them? And Gaon and McCulloch came up with a certain classification. For example, the illustrative means that we use emojis to illustrate certain objects or things from around the world, which consists of a majority of the emoji keyboard we have. Metaphorical is quite similar to illustrative. However, it refers to something that does not have a physical form. For example, the Queen Bey example here is referring to Beyoncé, the famous singer. And they use the bee emoji in tweets or social media posts a lot. Pointing, as the name suggests, it is referring to emojis that help point at something. Beat emojis can be like using claps between saying things to illustrate that. And elocutionary is usually accompanied by a text, and the emoji itself is explaining or acknowledging the context of the text. For example, in here I said exams are killing me, and then the crying emoji is connected to the exams are killing me. And back channeling is a concept we use in actual face-to-face communication, which is when someone says something, you reply with, "Oh, really?" or just something to further emphasize it. And sometimes emojis are used to further emphasize a point, so those are under back-channeling category. When we come to the semantic diversity in emojis and how the platform evolves, there are a lot of platforms that we use emojis in. And I want to demonstrate how different these emojis can be. For example, you are an Apple user and you send this emoji to people to your friends from different platforms. People are going to see completely different things. For example, in emoji decks, you're going to see this. And in Messenger, you're going to see this. Twitter shows this emoji. Microsoft shows this emoji, which has closed eyes. Google shows this one. Facebook shows a white moon, similar to Emojis and Messenger, and Samsung shows this one. So as we all can see, all of them can be used to convey quite a lot of different meanings. And the reason we do this is because the reason there are such a huge diversity in the platform is because first of all, for legal reasons, like the emojis are usually the intellectual property of the platform or the company. And another reason is brand recognition. So when people use those certain emojis and they look at the certain emojis, the artistic styles can indicate which platform it belongs to. When we come to culture also has a significant effect on how we use emojis. For example, Ludwig and Pfizer did a study on a global profiling, basically, and they categorized the whole world with first world, second world, third world, and fourth world. First world including countries from Western Europe, North America, and such. Second world including Eastern Europe and countries from there. Third world included some countries from Africa, some countries from Asia, and fourth world included some countries from Africa. And what they found is basically, if you look at the first world, you notice the lack of emojis that convey an emotion, which was a quite interesting finding. A lot of the emojis were related to other things rather than emojis. The second world countries are dominated by emojis that involve positive facial expressions. The third world countries had a balance of had more like a balance of facial expressions, but also included a lot of negative. And the first world countries involved a lot more gestures rather than facial expressions. So the culture that we live in can impact the emojis we choose to use. Another interesting thing is that we can actually repurpose these emojis and actually like choose to change the meaning of the emoji. For example, in 2021 on TikTok by the user Blank Anto, a trend was started. They basically said whenever you're going to use a laughter emoji, whenever you're thinking something is funny, use the chair emoji, basically repurposing the chair as laughter. And it leads to TikTok comments such as this. And when we come to the future of emojis, we can say that emojis are not going to go away anytime soon because they are used quite a lot, especially on social media. Here you see the We Are Social report from 2020, and it has the report on how the most used emojis on Twitter, and they are reporting how many times each of these have been used, which is quite interesting. It's well over the number of people who are on the internet. So it can be inferred that it's not going to go away anytime soon. And another thing that I predict based on my research is what we are going to do when we want to convey new meanings. Let's say that we are going to try to express that we are very proud and we are teary, like that sense. We can suggest new emojis to Unicode, the company that is managing all of this, and the company which has like certain codes so that as the name suggests, it unifies all of the codes so that whenever we send an emoji, they see the same thing or a similar thing. So we can suggest new emojis. I found it quite interesting on Unicode's website that you can actually propose to send an emoji, and if it's popular enough and if it's distinct enough and not too distinct, you can send. For example, in the new Unicode update, they are planning on adding this emoji, which is going to be able to convey our sense of pride and joy from tears. Another way is if we cannot get new emojis, we can repurpose existing emojis. For example, this emoji from Samsung's crying face, I believe it conveys quite a similar meaning. And even if its equivalences on other platforms may not look like this, they can still convey a similar meaning. And to further clarify, we can add text and say, "I'm so proud of you," and so on. If we cannot find an emoji that could convey this feeling anyway, we can go on with the other digital alternatives. We can use memes, we can use emoticons, or we can use popular scenes from movies and so on. And finally, a few questions for further inquiry. As this is an academical area that is currently expanding, more research needs to be done. Here are a few questions for further inquiry. How can we decrease the misinterpretation of emojis? How can we classify the meanings of them and how they affect our communication? For the first two questions, I would say that sources such as Emoji Tracker, which basically tracks the emoji usage on Twitter, and Emojipedia, which basically which is a website that acts as an encyclopedia for emojis. These tools should be further expanded to be more inclusive and follow more platforms and basically be a more thorough source for scholars. And for the final question, I believe more research should be done by perhaps interviewing or making people aware of how they are using these, and through self-reports, perhaps we could get more information. Thank you very much for listening. The purpose of my study was to highlight the importance of emojis in our communication and perhaps bring this to your attention. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you may I may answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dilara, for this enjoyable presentation. I'm asking again, are there any questions? Okay. Now, I invite Ms. Anastasia Dorofeva from Financial University under the government of the Russian Federation in Russia to make her presentation titled Students' Trust in Teachers as a Factor of Sustainable Development of Universities' Digital Academic Environment. So the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will be glad to introduce you to my presentation on the topic Students' Trust in Teachers as a Factor of Sustainable Development of the University's Digital Academic Environment. The paper aims to identify organizational aspects of distance learning that universities should pay attention in order to increase the level of trust in the student-teacher dialogue. Our objectives are as follows: to assess the current level of students' trust in university teachers, to assess the relationship between students' satisfaction with various aspects of the organization of distance learning at the university and the level of their trust in teachers, to assess the relationship of psychological problems that students have during distance learning with the level of their trust in teachers, and to identify the teacher's personal and professional qualities that determine the degree of students' trust in them. To begin with, the main change associated with the digital transformation of higher education during the coronavirus pandemic was the transition of most universities to distance learning. UNESCO estimates that more than 1.5 billion students worldwide haven't attended educational institutions permanently or occasionally since the beginning of 2020. The Russian experience of restructuring the educational system in the context of the pandemic is generally assessed as successful. According to the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation, about 60% of Russian higher education institutions have successfully switched to a new format. Another 27% experienced periodic difficulties. 10% of them were completely unprepared for the transition to a new format. For the most part, this was due to the lack of infrastructure necessary for the digitalization. It's believed that the introduction of online technologies will continue after the pandemic and will remain relevant. In this regard, participants of the educational process need to successfully adapt to new conditions and learn how to organize academic activities in both completely remote and a mixed format without losing effectiveness. The subject of this study is students' trust in teachers in the context of the digitalization of the university's academic environment. And the problem of trust in higher education has been attracting the attention of scientists in various fields of social humanitarian knowledge for many years. Higher education is among the most important social institutions, and it offers trust services for which the consumer pays in advance, while when the consumer trusts the reputation of the university. And the number of researchers agree that the effectiveness of education process, the level of students' involvement, openness, their motivation, and their loyalty to the university depend on the level of their trust in teachers. And a number of Russian and foreign researchers has devoted their works to identifying the factors that affect the level of trust, as to the level of students' trust in teachers. For example, social demographic characteristics, academic performance, satisfaction with the learning process, features of the university, and teachers' qualities. And the issue of the relationship between the organizational aspects of distance learning and the level of trust in the student-teacher dyad is poorly covered. In the course of the study, the analysis of scientific literature was carried out and a sociological survey was conducted. 176 undergraduate students took part in the survey. And there were 3 closed and 1 open question. Data collection took place in January-February 2020 using Google Forms. Let's move on to the results. The current average level of students' trust in teachers ranges from 5.93 to 6.63. The distribution is bimodal. According to the degree of trust in teachers, students can be divided into 2 types, trusting and non-trusting. To determine the relationship between the level of trust with some organizational aspects of distance learning, we used a Pearson correlation analysis. As for the organizational aspects, we have identified 17 aspects which cover different material, social, cultural, and psychological aspects of the university's academic environment. These aspects can be combined into 4 blocks: technical aspect, educational activity, extracurricular activities and communication student-university, and communication student-teacher. As we can see, 13 variables were statistically significantly positively correlated with the level of trust. We can conclude that the universities should pay special attention to such aspects as interactivity and level of involvement, quality of interaction between students and teachers, respect for students, information and consulting support, and others. Let's move on to psychological problems. We pay special attention to the psychological state of students as it affects the educational process and the university's academic environment. As we can see, almost all variables are statistically significantly negatively correlated with the level of trust. And we can conclude that the students who face such problems as lack of supervision by teachers, lack of communication, concerns about future education and career, difficulties with studying at home, tend to trust teachers less. In the last question, students were asked to describe as detailed as possible the teacher who inspires their trust. In general, the results are similar to the results of other studies devoted to identifying the qualities of teachers that determine students' trust in them. Such qualities include professionalism, organizational skills, using authors' methods, responsibility, and communication skills. However, according to the results, the list of significant qualities also includes characteristics related to the computer literacy of the teacher, the skill of using technical means, such as computer knowledge or introduction of ICT in the educational process. These characteristics of a modern university teacher become particularly relevant in the context of digitalization of the university's academic environment and become significant for students. To conclude, we can propose some measures to increase the level of trust between students and teachers during distance learning. As for the technical aspect and educational activities, increasing the interactivity of classes and the level of students' involvement, informing students about upcoming events and their current academic performance. As for extracurricular activities and communication student university, organizing scientific, cultural, and creative events in an online format, solving and preventing students' psychological problems. And the last one is communication student-teacher, a respectful and friendly attitude of teachers to students, and the use of different communication channels which are familiar for students, for example, chats or social media. That brings me to the end of my presentation. References are presented on the slide. And in conclusion, I would like to note that my research in this area is still ongoing. And in the future, we plan to find out the opinion of teachers about ways to increase trust between teachers and students. It's obvious that for sustainable development of the university's academic environment in our changing digital world, efforts are needed on the part of students and teachers. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. It was a good presentation. Are there any questions? Okay, I guess no questions. Thank you again. So for the last presentation of the day, I would like to invite Mr. Daniel Rabina from Alexander Dubček University of Trenčín, Slovakia, to make his presentation titled Changing the Media Image of Volodymyr Zelensky in the Slovak Media. So this stage is yours. Hello again. Sorry for the waiting. I guess Daniel tried to enter the studio, so we have to wait a couple minutes. Thank you for your understanding.
This is the place to find yourself.
Istanbul offers great universities and the lifestyle is really amazing here.
So I live at the dorms at Maltepe University and I'm really happy with it. There's a cleaning service every few days and then there's the library nearby which is open 24/7.
My first impression when I came was like, it's huge. You have everything in one place.
When you first come to Maltepe University, you don't know where what is and you're like, oh my God, I need help. Guess what? You're not alone. There is the international office people over there. They're like family. They're very helpful and they're always there for you.
Istanbul is the perfect mixture between ancient and modern. Coming into this city helps me discover myself, learn about so many different cultures, learning about the world, which will help me in writing future books.
At Maltepe University, we have a lot of research centers. Because of that, we have the ability to participate in a lot of international projects.
Here at Maltepe University, the education consists of both practical and theoretical. We get the opportunity to practice everything we learn in class in real life. So after we graduate, we have a degree and we can work all over the world.
People come to Istanbul all the time, but what they really miss when they visit are the antique shops, which contain thousands of years of memories and also a thread of the modern future.
I like to use every minute and just get out and hop on the ferry and just go from the Asian side to the European side and just enjoy the wonderful weather with the wonderful Bosphorus behind me and just enjoying the moment of Istanbul.
Istanbul is very beautiful with great culture.
This city is the symbol of diversity. Come and study at Maltepe University.
Come here and feel like you're home.
Hello again, thanks for your patience. Now we are taking a short break. We will continue at 4:30. Thank you. Hello again. Sorry for the waiting and thanks for the understanding. So this is the end of the Maltepe University International Student Congress, HUMSOS. Thanks for all our participants for their presentation. Now our co-president Simge Uzun will give her closing speech. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Hello, I am Simge Uzun. Hello, I am Simge Uzun, and I'm the one of co-president of this Congress. Dear audiences and participants, we have come to the end of this year Maltepe University International Student Congress, Humanities and Social Sciences 2022. We are proud to say that 28 participants from 10 different countries all around the world in this year. As the co-presidents of this Congress, we offer our gratitude, Mr. Hüseyin Şimşek, the founder, to Professor Şahin Karasar, director of the Maltepe University, and the Professor Betül Çotuksaken, as the Vice Director of Maltepe University and the General Coordinator of Humanities and Social Sciences 2022. Our special thanks in regards to lecturers for supporting us through all of this hard work, and many thanks to our great team, the student community. The efforts of our friends are so valuable. This Congress is a platform where students share their knowledge and experience on sustainability in the world. Various presentations with different perspectives have been present in Humanities and Social Sciences 2022. I hope this Congress provides you and inspire new researches and new contacts for closer cooperations. And finally, we would like to thank everyone who joined us today. We would like to wish all the participants health and happiness. It was an honor to have you all. Thanks for being with us. Bye-bye.